Hello everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be my weekly video for the astro weather. It's pretty safe to say this energy is going to be kind of in the mix all week long. Wanted to get this out maybe a little bit early. Hopefully this is going to be coming out probably Sunday night, so you got a couple days as we're actually getting into the full moon energy. So this video is all going to be about the full moon in Aries that will be taking place on October 20th, 2021 in just a couple days time. Those of you guys who are new to my channel, please do me a favor, click the bell button below, like, comment, share, subscribe, help me get my videos into YouTube land where other astrology lovers can see what we're doing here. I appreciate it. I'm a Western and evolutionary astrologer. I focus really on predictive method with astrology and natal charts. I also do compatibility and all kinds of other synastry stuff as well. And I've been a practitioner for nearly 14 years, building my practice revolving around tarot and astrology. So we're going to do a couple different things for my lunation videos. Generally, I get into the chart of the new or the full moon. In this case, it's a full moon. Talk to you guys about the aspects, my perspective. We'll talk a little bit about the Sabian symbols. If you stay to the end of the video, I will give predictions for each and every one of the 12 signs along with tarot cards to give you insight as to what this full moon has in store for you. So make sure you stay tuned for that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. This is going to be a very fiery one at that. I wanted to get it out early because I was like looking at the aspects and I was like, there's gonna be some stuff going on this week. So I guess better sooner rather than later, right? Or just not at all. I think I said in a previous video, this full moon kind of reminds me of like that Elmo meme where he's like running around and everything's like on fire. And I'll explain why. Obviously, those of you guys who are used to my channel, you know that my humor is really just to kind of help us roll with the cosmic punches of what's going on this week, but this is a rather intense one. So the full moon's going to be landing October 20th, 2021 at 7:57 a.m. Pacific time, 10:57 a.m. and that will be Eastern. Obviously, those of my friends who are all over the world, please adjust your time for your location. Some good news revolving around this full moon. There are some silver linings here. One is that Mercury is now finally direct at the time of the full moon. So Mercury has been going retrograde in Libra, actually the opposite sign of the full moon in Aries. And this has been going on really, I mean, we've been feeling the heaviness even. It was happening in mid-September of the retrograde shadow. So as I'm filming this, it's just stationing, it's getting ready to go direct, or it is direct. And at the time of the full moon, we're also going to see that both Saturn and Jupiter, so we've got the great, positive gas giant who brings us all kinds of cosmic goodies, Jupiter, and Saturn, who is like daddy of karma, are both direct. So you guys are going to notice that the energy starts really building and there's a lot of forward momentum. I don't know about you guys, but like right around the time Pluto went direct and then Saturn, I was like, whoa, like I'm really feeling that there is actually momentum where we're going to start seeing physical changes out in the world. And just everything that's going on. Like we see some of the stuff with the tensions going on in Taiwan, some things that have been happening with some of the unions, the airlines, I could go on and on, I'll spare you. But essentially, it's all very magically tied to the transits of what are going to be happening really over the immediate next, let's say 2 to 6 weeks. But being that we've got Mercury now direct, Saturn's direct, Jupiter's direct, and we also see some really nice harmonious aspects between Mercury and Libra, where it's encouraging us to talk more about union, partnership, commitment, honoring agreements, and kind of being that mediator in harmonious aspect with Saturn and Aquarius. So now it's like we're actually able to start making plans and contracts stick, conversations stick, agreements stick, and we start really kind of banding together because Aquarius is about the collective. So that's really lovely. Jupiter being in the same sign, I see it being something that's positive. I'm a little bit back and forth with Saturn and Jupiter being in the same sign because I do feel like right at the end, before Jupiter gets ready to segue back into Pisces later this year, there can be a sense of a tightening of the belt socially, right? Like, increased places in the world where we see limitations of travel, limitations of social gathering, being told perhaps by larger entities or businesses or even governments what we can and cannot do. So until I'm, a little bit further ahead into Scorpio season, I'm going to kind of maintain that there can be some tightening of the belt, so to say, socially going on in the next couple of weeks. However, I do trust that the planets moving into Scorpio, rubbing up against those squares with Saturn and Uranus, is setting the stage for a revolution. You can kind of feel it in the air. Like there's just so many different things going on in the world where people are really starting to kind of wake up and kind of go, enough is enough. We cannot continue this way. Something needs to shift. Something needs to kind of level off. There needs to be a change, or we need to cut something. And a lot of that is Mars energy, right? Cutting, severing, burning. It's the god of war and the ruler of this particular lunation. So what is Aries? Aries is a cardinal fire sign. It is the very first sign of the zodiac. So it's the baby of the zodiac, representing the first house in the zodiac wheel, which is the I am, right? The physical presence, the body, the warrior. And it's a cardinal energy. So what's really interesting is that we are now coming to the tail end of Libra season. We are getting ready to move into what will be Scorpio season soon, when the sun moves into Scorpio. And that's going to be closer to Saturday, later this next weekend. When that happens, cardinal energies give way to fixed energies. And I want you to think of like cardinal energies like Aries, like Cancer, Libra, Capricorn are all like little generals, or they're little sergeants, and they initiate things. It's like taking a match and striking a matchbook. It starts it, but it's not really responsible for burning everything down. That would be the fixed signs, or the fire signs, depending on how you want to look at it. But essentially, fixed signs carry out the orders that cardinal energies have already initiated. So if you notice what's been going on in the last month, lots of talking about relationships, what's fair, right? Fairness, justice. We think of Libra. What is and is not legal? What is and is not in balance? Where are we not getting enough? Where do we need to do more? Where are we seeking justice? And it's been a very unusual Libra period. You guys have seen my previous videos the last week or two talking about Mars moving with the sun, being very kind of like combative generally. But in the sign of Libra, it's doing our best to really hyperextend ourselves and go, I'm going to extend an olive branch, but it has to be with the understanding that there is fairness. And that's where Libra is really interesting. When there is no balance, Libra can like just give people a cosmic bitch slap. Like those of you guys who know any like really strong Libra suns, Libra moons, Libra risings, even Mercury in Libra, they're really great at finding that middle ground and being able to be a mediator. But the second that somebody steps out of line, they're going to check you on it, right? So think of like a judge almost. The signs and the degrees, I want to really talk about the degrees, because this degree of the full moon is going to be at 27 degrees and change of Aries. So those of you guys who are anywhere between 25 and 29 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, if that's a sun, moon, rising, or personal planet, watch out, because this is, it's very heated. I almost think of like, it's so funny, like when I'm like sitting here, doing the workup, I'm like, what does it kind of look like? There's gonna be lots of examples in this video, but almost like there's like dynamite, or like, powder, like in the cartoons where you see like the dynamite and they light it on one end and then it goes all the way across and then it goes boom. That's kind of how I see this. So if you have any planets around those degrees, it's going to be very active in a cardinal T-square in 3 separate areas of your chart, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, cardinal, sun, moon, and rising are going to get hit pretty hard. The nice thing about Aries is that Aries is self-motivated, action-packed, courageous, youthful, fun, but oftentimes it can also be very confrontational, kind of like acting first, talking later, and very reactionary is something that reactionary energy is what we see from Aries, right? Because it's ruled by Mars, so it's the god of war and conflict, but also courage and passion, and we think about like the self first. And it's an interesting topic, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and like the thing that's like kind of come up for me in a lot of sessions is talking to clients about how they are personally responding to the chaos of the outside world and how much they want to get engulfed in other people's drama or other people's shit. And it's almost like 2020 and 2021 has been a year where you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can kind of start working through things and helping other people. So this isn't me like giving people the okay to just be like checking others and being like, me first, you know, like some kind of chaotic scene that you would almost see at like a Black Friday at a Best Buy or something. No, it's just more Chiron's in Aries, right? We've seen this Mercury retrograde. Mercury has been in opposition to Chiron, so there's definitely been a lot of like how we need to rethink how we communicate in relationships if we're projecting our pain, our fears, our own unresolved traumas or wounds onto other people. And so this can be, in a way, kind of like the second chapter of whatever it is that you experienced during that new moon in Libra 2 weeks ago, where it was very, very, very tightly conjunct Mercury and Mars. So there was like conflict, and now this is like the resolution, or, you know, like the finale, right? And it will be a big one at that, primarily because of the aspects. So whenever we're looking at a new or a full moon, we look at the ruling planet, and in this case, it is Mars. So if you look at this, there's a ton of Mars aspects. Equally, it's very similar to the new moon that we had in Libra. Mars in Libra, it doesn't do as well because generally we like to see Mars in Aries, or we like to see Mars in a fire sign where it can really kind of get the momentum going. But in Libra, it's kind of lagged a little bit. There's been some delay or some indecisiveness or kind of going back and forth before pulling the trigger. Certainly, I think a lot of people have been kind of taking like a wait and see approach over the last 2 weeks since the last new moon. Part of that's because of the Mercury retrograde. Part of that is because we're waiting, I think, for all of these energies to build into what will be this full moon in Aries, where we have some kind of a resolution. But sometimes resolution means war. And this doesn't necessarily mean war in the world, although we can't talk about Libra or Aries or Pluto or Mars without some kind of highly intensified charge or conflict that's going on, which can result in actual physical you know, fights and discrepancies and threats and things that can blow up. Try to hold space for that not happening, but it is possible in some areas of the world that we will see increased tensions to the point where it's almost like there's no backing down. Like somebody can cross the line and really kind of do or say some things that can be lethal. Okay, so I want you guys to think about that. But Mars in Libra is currently in a square to Pluto, and this is what makes this aspect so damn feisty and so lethal. And that's the word that comes up for me a lot with like Pluto, because Pluto doesn't screw around, guys. Pluto is the final stop. Oftentimes in transits, you know, it'll be Mars, or it'll be Saturn, or it'll be Jupiter, it'll be Uranus, squares that will check somebody. But it isn't until we get to Pluto, when Pluto squares off with planets, that's the final stop. It's literally, Pluto is transmute or die. We need to regenerate, or we need to break it down, or we need to watch something decay and fall apart. And sometimes it needs to, in order for us to be able to build something that's more energetically sound, or you know, it's just kind of like the cosmic garbage man. That's how I see Pluto, in a very positive way. I love Pluto. I'm super Plutonian, but there almost needs to be like this chaos that comes up that creates the meltdown and the severance and the conflict. If that's what some of us need to really kind of go, enough's enough, I'm done. Unfortunately for some of us who have not been responding to the calls of change, it will be uncomfortable. So this is an uncomfortable moon, but you're still in this sweet spot in the next week where there are enough positive aspects, I think, to Saturn and to Jupiter to where this is your way out. You guys have heard me talk about this in previous videos. This is the setup basically to clear some stuff out before we have some major conjunctions at the end of 2020 to Pluto. And at that point, something does end, something does change, something is reborn, there is something new. So that will be much more challenging with the conjunction, although conjunctions can be power up periods, so that's pretty cool. The other thing I would say is that, you know, with the Mars square Pluto, just generally speaking, it's super active pretty much now all the way through the 23rd of the month. I see this as like social awareness of abuse of power, particularly political figures or big business. You know, Pluto in Capricorn does talk about authority figures and where they are using or how they are using their power. So certainly with the conjunctions that we've seen in 2020, where Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto were together, this emergence of the Black Lives Matter movement, and we started seeing just this real focal point on police brutality that was just so, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction and the squares that we saw in the Mars retrograde last year, this energy is very similar. We're seeing very similar energy. What I do like about it thus far that I have seen is that I have seen an insane amount of people in uniform. We've seen a lot of like, you know, some political figures, but mostly like firemen, pilots. We've seen police officers. We think of Pluto and Capricorn, these figures that are out there that may seem cold and they may seem, you know, mean sometimes, or more kind of Saturn-like, where they're more serious and they're restrictive. But what's so beautiful is that squares sometimes can create this pressure point to where things pop and they force us to change. So there has been certainly like a lot of like, not necessarily walkouts, but some of these people in these particular fields that are standing up and basically going, I guess I'm resigning. I don't feel like I have the right to choose when it comes to my health and my health care. And I'm basically being told that I need to either succumb to doing these things that my employer or the state or, you know, the federal government is asking me to do, or, you know, I lose my job. So we're seeing, well, masses of people are walking out of their job. Very interesting to see that as we're watching the Sun and Mars in Libra square Pluto. So it's saying this mate doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't feel just. I don't feel supported. It's squaring Pluto. So it's this power struggle that's really kind of accelerated over this last weekend to the square that will be taking place big time the first 3 or 4 days of the week. So Monday all the way through Thursday, we're seeing this square play out, and it's going to force people to make decisions and come into action. But also it's about how we use our power. And this is why I really like Mars in Libra, where we're talking about doing it in a diplomatic way, in a way where it's not confrontational, in a way where we are actually saying in some very eloquent kind of terms, this isn't fair. If I don't stand up for this person, or if I don't stand up for myself, what's going to happen to everybody else, right? So there's some cool stuff happening. Likely though, there can also be some breakdowns in relationships, agreements, broken agreements. Relationships will be tested. It's inevitable when you see planets in Libra square Capricorn, especially Pluto. But like I said, Pluto is the final stop. And now that Pluto is direct, he is not playing around. It's almost like, you know, Pluto's taking orders from Mars and the Sun, right? And it's going to be like, well, do you want me to get rid of this? Do you want me to cut this? I'll cut this. Just tell me to cut this. And Pluto will, through the next couple of weeks, really start blending and working very well with planets that are going into Scorpio, creating sextiles where like things really will end, things really will kind of like taper off in a way. But I really think that this is the beginning of the end of a period of suppression, right? So we think about releasing and like letting go of fear, anger, cruelty, and the beginning of what may be a revolution that's brewing all over the globe. The other aspect that I'm looking at is Mars conjunct the Sun in Libra. So like I said, that's fiery, it's feisty, there's a lot of momentum, it's moving forward. There can definitely be some heated interactions that are going on with others. Fiery emotions, feelings bubbling over, volcanic tantrums. Raise your hand if you're an Aries moon. You know, it's like, I always laugh whenever there's like really intense Aries moons, and there has been the last couple of years because of the aspects to planets that have been in Capricorn. People always look around and go, oh my goodness, like this is insane. I'm like, well, welcome to my life all of the time. This is how I feel being a Libra rising Aries moon. But it's about how you channel that energy and what you do with that energy, to which I would say get active. There is a way to be assertive without being confrontational. There is a way to, you know, execute things without feeling like you need to bark orders. There is a way to create change without having conflict. And I don't mean conflict in a sense of hashing things out. Like, things may very well need to be hashed out during this full moon, but physical conflict and violence is what we want to move away from. Okay, that's the big thing, because people are really going to be on edge the next week. There's going to be quite a few people that will be very confrontational, very reactionary. Certainly there can be like a lot of like going toe to toe when Mars and Pluto square off with each other, and it can produce violence. So you guys want to be really mindful of that. The Sun and Mars are in a trine to Jupiter in Aquarius. So this is big feelings, right? Big feelings, social unity, building courage, unwilling to back down, holding and upholding the vision for the future and where we are going collectively together, building into a new perspective for the future, world and society. So people are going to start kind of banding together, talking about this, about where we're going, the change that we would like to create. So we like to look at some of these trines as kind of like release points, like it releases some of the pressure that's going on around that daytime. So it's really this mirror of everything that we have seen pretty much all of Libra season. The Sun and Mars made trines to Saturn, trines to Jupiter. Now Saturn and Jupiter woke up, so they're ready to actually create that change. Mercury is now direct, and thankfully at the time of the moon, Mercury is actually still in a trine to Saturn. So rules, laws, contracts, things we sign, things we say are very, very, very permanent in a way. It's like you're almost like taking, you know, a Sharpie and you're signing a contract, or, you know, this is a really powerful time to like initiate something and get something going. Easily, you know, this can be a time where if you feel like you need to you know, have a conversation. It depends on your chart personally, but needing to have a conversation and kind of like leveling up about, you know, what you need personally and like really kind of following through with that. This is a moon, because it's dealing with Aries, that's more about the self rather than other people. So there's going to be a lot of people kind of going, that's it, I can't take this anymore. Blah! And we can feed off of that, but this is a time to really kind of bring our energy in and stay grounded and kind of go, okay, I'm putting on my blinders, like I know what I need to do, and I'm not going to be responding from all of these people who are kind of pushing my buttons. And in the off chance that your buttons do get pushed, you go, here's the boundary, right? So use your words, please be mindful that they definitely pack quite a punch during this full moon. Saturday, like I said, the sun moves into Scorpio, and we begin to carry out the changes that we have already set in motion as a result of this full moon. We begin to turn inward, allow for rebirths, mourning, regeneration, transformation, and all of the things that Scorpio does very well. It'll be an interesting Scorpio season, especially considering that very soon Mars will be moving into the sign of Scorpio as well, and they are all going to rub up into squares with Saturn, Jupiter, and oppositions to Uranus. So certainly Scorpio season, and the whole month of November is just going to be nothing but surprises. It's just going to be one surprise after another, and there's definitely a lot of learning to adapt to changes and kind of where the dust has settled as a result of this full moon. The vibes, like I said, though, conflict has been building. There's been pressure all year long, so it would not surprise me, especially for some of you guys who are in the later degrees of cardinal signs, that this is the turning point where there is a pop, right? So just be mindful of that. That's pretty much everything that I have for the moon aspect. Let me read to you guys a little bit about the Sabian symbol. I was reading this and my eyes got really big. Those of you guys who aren't aware of the Sabian symbols, something I like to read on my channel. I like to use this. I like to use this for clients, for sessions, if they're having like a rather, you know, significant transit on a nodal degree or on a planet. If there's like a trans-Neptunian planet that's kind of like hanging out on a particular planet in their natal chart, I'll look at the Sabian symbol to kind of get a better understanding of what's happening. Such an amazing tool for reference, but also for being able to kind of co-create and have these conversations with planets in our day-to-day life, and be able to kind of see the signs and the omens and really know that they're working with us. So anybody looking to expand their astrological daily practice, certainly super helpful. It gives you a little bit of like an excerpt that was created between an astrologer and an intuitive. And yeah, it talks a little bit about what to expect. So when we're working with the Sabian symbols, just so you guys know, we want to round up because this is, 27 and 26 minutes. We're going to read 28 degrees of Aries, although you could read 27 as well, but I have a tendency to round up. So 28 degrees of Aries, a large disappointed audience. The keyword is disjunction. The theme is nothing lasts forever. The symbol speaks to the disillusionment that occur when too a great dependence is placed on things external to the self. The images of a large disappointed audience alludes to an expectation that wasn't met. That when something is being enjoyed ends prematurely, or when something that is anticipated or expected to occur fails to materialize. The symbol also speaks to the unpredictabilities of life and to changes in taste or preference. This is one of the images that Mark Jones described as a reverse symbolism, or as carrying a negative connotation, and he commented that there is a danger of the individual becoming disillusioned as a result of making the momentary mood of the masses any proper guide for the values that he should pursue. In modern terms, this degree emphasizes being true to yourself. At positive, at its highest, the symbol represents the courage to do what is best for the self and resist emotional appeals and pressures from others. Okay? Watch out for pessimistic thinking, perceptions of rejection. The accent is on a shift in attitude and values. What worked yesterday may not hold up well today. Okay? Your greatest advantage lies in being self-reliant, pleasing yourself, looking after yourself, thinking independently, objectively. Guard against letting criticism, disapproval, or opinions of other people stop you from doing what you know is right. Avoid self-pity and negative thinking. I think that speaks for itself, in a really big way. Going back to what I said about the putting your oxygen mask on first, not in a sense of being selfish, but kind of just basically being like, I have to do what I have to do. And there's going to be major turning points for people, especially if you have planets within some of these like real critical degrees, that integrity, right? And standing up for what's right on a personal level, on a spiritual level, on a global level, a political level, whatever. This is the turning point where we have the opportunity to go, no, doesn't work for me. So the question is how is that going to apply in your life? How is it going to play out for you? Let's find out. So let's take a look at all of the 12 signs. Please listen first with my predictions for your rising sign, then your sun. You can listen to your moon sign too. The physical stuff that actually materializes generally is going to be your rising sign. The sun is what you really need for your own personal development. And the moon may play out more emotionally or kind of like behind the scenes, right? Okay, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out a birth chart calculator online, put in your information. You need the day, the time, the exact location of where you were born. You can generate and cast your chart. This is all based off of Western astrology, and it will, I guess you could technically use it for whole or Placidus, whichever you prefer. Although I'm a rebel, I like Placidus. Okay, so this is where you guys want to pay attention, because I am going to talk about specifically how this T-square between the Sun, Mars, and Pluto and the moon is going to play out. Keep in mind that wherever the full moon is where the action is in your chart. The moon, so this would be Aries. And wherever Pluto is in your chart is where you are kind of getting checked. Something where there's a bit of like a power struggle or something that is coming to your awareness that needs to change or transform, and you want to take action where Libra is. For more personalized readings, check out my links below, check out my website. I got some openings for the rest of the year. I am super happy and accepting new clients. I would love to see you. Okay, Aries, a lot of what I was talking about applies to you, but I'm just going to keep it real because you guys know, like on my channel, I don't candy coat things. The full moon being in your first house is very prominent when it comes to your physical self. Whether this is your body, how you dress, how you look, how you carry yourself, how you assert yourself, There is some kind of like conclusion that's coming up right now about how you are going to speak out and stand up for yourself. That's just the full moon. We're not even taking into consideration Pluto square, okay? So when you're having that full moon in your first house, you may do things like feel more physically exhausted. You may feel a little bit more anxious. You might be a little bit more physically active. Try to do something to burn off some steam, like get active, go for a walk, go for a run, just hang out in the sauna, go out and play some sports, do something so that way you're not feeling like you're wanting to burn everything down, okay? Now, what's going on is that you have Pluto that's hanging out in your 10th house. And this will bring up things like challenges from bosses, parents, authority figures, government figures. It can also be things changing pertaining to like more or less your status in the world. So the 10th house isn't just your career. Sometimes it can deal with some huge change transformation, especially because Pluto is there, to your status. So you may be one of those signs because the Sun and Mars is going through your 7th house where you're having conflict with somebody, you're having conflict with a partner, you're having conflict with a business partner. And with the Sun and Mars in your 7th, squaring Pluto in your 10th, somebody's pressuring you to do something that you're not crazy about doing, or you're feeling like people are coming at you and they're attacking you. Somebody says, you either do this or we're breaking up. You either do this or you're fired. You either do this or, we're not working together. We're not friends anymore. Something like that can happen. And with the full moon on your ascendant or in your sign, you're very moody. Okay, you're moody. And the truth is that it's about finding a way to find the middle ground. And if you are going through a challenging change, like losing your job, quitting your job, telling your boss off, filing for divorce, it's okay. These things are happening. And you may feel like you need to stand up for yourself. And okay, there we go. 2 of Swords. So to me, it seems like you've been thinking about something for a while. There were 2 other cards that came up, 3 of Coins and the 4 of Coins. So you've been thinking about making a change at work. You've been thinking about making a change with your career. You've been thinking about making a change with the future of your finances. Something's going on and you've been going back and forth and you're like, do I do it? Do I not do it? Do I do it? Here's the deal. Pull the trigger. Because this is the card of anxiety. This is the card of not being able to make a choice. This is being stuck and stifled mentally and not being able to choose. What's interesting about the 2 other cards that came up for you is that it's basically saying if you're holding on to a job or a relationship or a financial situation just because of the security of going, but I have a job, but I'm married, whatever, it's not really security, right? Like it's almost like it's like a false security. So make the decision, make the choice, stand up for yourself, realize that this may take, 3 weeks, 3 months before this really flushes out. Okay, so we've got Taurus. Taurus, this is a full moon happening for you in your 12th house of your hidden sector, which deals with behind the scenes, spiritual healing, what's kind of going on in your mind, what you think about, but you don't always talk about, your own personal connection to your higher self or God or angels or all of that fun 12th house stuff. And you've got the square coming from your 9th house. So Pluto's in your 9th, squaring placements on a full moon in your 12th. And then you've got the Sun and Mars hanging out in your 6th. Something needs to change with your schedule, Taurus. Like there's something going on that's like your belief revolving around what your day-to-day life could be, what is and is not healthy, whether or not you have the time or the space for the things that you want to do. You may be feeling a little stir crazy, like there can be some anxiety and you're having a hard time like expressing that. There's a real test of your beliefs. For some of you guys, there can be some challenges pertaining to like balancing your schedule with a partner. There can also be some unforeseen events that can come about that can hinder travel or law or documentation stuff that you don't see coming. And a full moon in your 12th house is like a really good time to just chill. Just chill out a little bit. Don't overwork. You've got all these planets in your 6th, and I feel like it's about finding the balance and like knowing when to say, no, I can't overwork, or I can't overeat, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And the effect that it has on you psychologically or spiritually, or even your sleep cycle, right? There can be something like that happening. And with the square from Pluto in your ninth, I could see that as like questions of your faith. And so I would say turn inward, focus more on resting, meditating, sleeping, paying attention to your dreams, your intuition. Integrating more of like a spiritual practice can be really helpful for you, so you can maintain and kind of upkeep like the positivity of like, okay, well, this didn't happen and this fell apart, but there's a reason for it. Like, I'm gonna go and do my mantras. Like, there's some need for you to connect more with your higher self so you understand why these things are happening. I get the Queen of Wands. So this can be talking about there being a situation where there is a woman. Okay, so it can be a woman, it can be a fire sign. Aries is your 12th house. And it can be about a woman who comes to help you. It can be about a woman who helps heal you, who talks to you about your issues. It can be a healer, a therapist, a reader. Equally, this can be a woman who appears out of nowhere or comes back into your life. Especially because of the oppositions that I think between the moon and what's going on in your 6th house, is that there can be like old ghosts of old relationships that appear. It might just be that you're kind of clearing that out and you're getting ready for a new cycle. There can be a sense of like you having some kind of like unfinished business with the fire sign. So it can be an Aries, it can be a Leo, it can be a Sag. And it can also come up in a dream, or there can be some kind of like psychological purging that's happening because this full moon is happening in your 12th house. Because she came up upright, I don't see it being negative. I just see it as being something that needs to be sorted out. There was a card that came up behind it, and it is the 8 of Cups. So it is talking about moving on from this connection, moving on from feeling bound to this person, knowing that the past is in the past, you're good there, you're okay, you're ready to walk away. So if this is giving yourself forgiveness, is this allowing yourself to really let things go? The closure doesn't always physically come with contact from people. Sometimes it can just be you kind of finally being like, okay, I'm wrapping this chapter, okay? For Gemini, this is a full moon happening in your 11th house. And you're an air sign, so you will do better with a full moon and a fire sign because air feels fire. And a full moon in your 11th house can be fun, social, connecting with friends. It's about maybe you taking a little bit more of an assertive kind of stance on like going and networking and like hanging out with people and like trying to make new friends, or you being the one to call people and like orchestrating, you know, something where you get together with a group. I could see that. And you're getting help from the sun in your 5th house. So this is the polar energy of where the sun and Mars are. So you may find that you're more kind of like positive about your own personal goals as a result of a partnership. You might be feeling more creative. And there can just be like a lot of momentum from a creative partner, a younger person, a child, a creative project perhaps, and you're just kind of like really feeling it, right? The challenge is that there is a square to Pluto. So this makes me wonder, are you at odds with a lover or a partner about whether or not financially you're ready to go deeper, right? It can be things like, oh, I don't know if I like really am ready to like invest in that, you know, in that business. I don't know if I'm like really financially to a point where I feel good enough to be able to have a kid. It can also put the pressure on you to like really go deeper, to start sharing your goals and what it is that you're looking to accomplish in life. And like that can be a whole new door that's opening for you. That really deals with like intimacy and like learning how to be more intimate with your partner. For some Geminis, it can be like pregnancy energy where it's like finally you come out with it and you're like, I really want to do this. And then you're like going back and forth with your partner, and your partner is like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I can do that again. And you have to be really honest with what your heart wants. So it doesn't have to just be a pregnancy. It can be a goal. It can be creating something, launching your own business. And somebody else's resources or somebody else's power is kind of like checking you, and you're questioning whether or not you're going to get the loan, you're going to have the support from your partner, what have you, okay? 10 of Cups. So it looks like it's going to work out just fine. This is the happily ever after card. This does make me feel like it can be about family planning. It can be about happily ever after. You know, are we going to make it? Are we talking about, you know, being together forever? Are we taking the next step? Are we buying a house? Are we having a kid? Are we getting a dog? These kinds of things. All in all, like this pressure point can actually be really good for you, because it can be like the turning point for like having some realizations about what you really want and being open and believing that it is possible that these blessings can come into your life. So it's positive. All right, so we've got Cancer and Cancer rising. This is a full moon happening in your 10th house. Be alert, Cancer. The energies are wild. Having a full moon in your 10th house is great for like accomplishments pertaining to your career. It can be a time where there's like proposals and demonstrations and mergers and, you know, quitting jobs and taking new jobs or getting new titles, moving up the corporate ladder. So that's positive in a sense, but it can also be revolving around quitting something, letting go, being let go, and really kind of like sitting with that in a way where there can be like some emotional relief, right? Because the Sun and Mars are in your 4th house. Or it can be a situation where, you know, you're like, my family needs me, but I'm commuting to this job, or my boss is a dick and he's constantly telling me that I can't take time off and I have to take care of a situation with my family. And then I've got my partner that's like, you know, all over me about it. Some conflict where maybe you're venting a lot to your partner about a work situation. And they basically say to you, like, whatever, like, get on with it. There is a lot more pressure in your chart also, because there's a lot of action in your 4th house where it's trying to kind of get you moving and shaking, especially Cancer rising. Some of you guys may be moving in the next couple of weeks. And I think with this opposition, there can be some stress where you're like, man, I'm moving, I'm getting rental trucks, I'm doing all this stuff, and like, I just lost my job. Equally, it can be a situation where you get a new job, which allows you to relocate, but just be mindful you're getting it from all different angles right now, okay? Especially because Pluto in your 7th house of partnerships, relationships with other people, especially professionally. Like if a job ends, it's definitely going to be a lot of pressure in a relationship. So whether that's like your partner gets let go or you get let go and your partner's like, dude, what are we going to do? Somebody's going to be on your case about it. And there can be some situations where if a job ends and you're friends with some people at work, like you may not be able to go back to being friends, right? Because there could be conflict over it. 9 of Cups. I question and I wonder, has this been something that's been a long time coming? Like, has this been conflict that's been a long time coming? Like, is there something that needs to be aired out because you've been asking for it? You've been wishing for this? Maybe you've, you know, been basically saying to the universe, give me a sign that, you know, I shouldn't be at my job. And then you show up to work and they're like, oh, you know, we're laying people off. I don't like saying that, but that can happen, especially with the squares to Pluto. I also wonder if this is a situation where it's something that your heart hasn't been in. And if your heart hasn't been in it, and if you've been stalling and putting off your own personal projects and your own personal endeavors, and you've been working for other people or doing things for other people, and you're getting this shit end of the stick, and you're not able to feel like you can really be authentic in your creativity and your abundance, all in all, whatever crisis happens, it's to kind of give you exactly what you're asking for. So this card makes me laugh because really this should be paired with the Tower for you. And I always kind of tell clients, like when they get the Tower card, they're always like, oh my God, what happened? Like, why did my husband leave me? I'm like, well, what have you been thinking about recently? Well, how unhappy I am in my relationship and that I really want to find somebody who is, you know, my better half and can support me in this, that, and the other. And I'm always quick to tell them, like, okay, I get that you have the wish, but you have to bring in the bulldozer to clear everything out to be able to level the playing field so you can build that. So keep in mind that there's some sweet and salty for you this month, and be mindful of what your thoughts are, what you're manifesting, what your wishes are, okay? For Leo and Leo rising, this is taking place in your 9th house. So it is a sister sign. Full moon in the 9th can be like getting excited for travel. You're going on a trip maybe. Maybe you're planning something big, an adventure. You're hoping to complete a course, a program. Perhaps you want to take a class, you want to teach something. There can be huge things coming about pertaining to like law, legal stuff with the 9th house. But huge kind of shifts pertaining to like your worldly beliefs, your spiritual beliefs, and your personal participation is needed because Aries is very personal. So for there to be like a full moon in that house, it's like, well, what are you doing regularly to better yourself? What are you studying? What are you practicing? What are you preaching? What are you praying to? Who are your gurus? Who are your teachers? Is it a self-help book? Is it a program that you're working through? There's something like that that can come up for you. And the square that's happening for you, Leo, is to Pluto that's in your 6th house. So this tells me that there does need to be some kind of reworking of like where you're working, how you're working, who you're working around, your philosophy and your beliefs on what is and is not healthy. This can be a time where there's a new spiritual or physical guru that comes into your life that helps you with your diet. They can help you with you know, how you're going about moving your body, focusing on healthier habits, like letting go of like old toxic habits, right? So that Pluto in the 6th house can also bring about a health crisis if you're not careful. Now, the other thing that's going on is that you have the sun in the 3rd house. So it is really great for like podcast reading, learning, picking up a new book, getting active, going for walks, learning how to communicate more effectively with people, having healthier communication habits perhaps. And through whatever it is that you're learning from these gurus or these new outlets, it's how you're putting it into action in your day-to-day relationships and kind of coming up with a healthier, a better routine, right? The Chariot. So interesting that this is the card of Cancer. This is also kind of talking about getting all your ducks in a row and like knowing that you're going somewhere. So I wonder, you know, this may really pertain to like future travel plans, whether you're planning to get out of town for the weekend or you're like, hey, I'm planning a bigger trip down the road in a couple months' time. This can also talk about moving or ventures that might be further away, or you start thinking about where you want to be next summer, that there can be things coming up where you're like, you know what, at this point in time, I want to be to this point. This is my goal. I want to live here. I want to be living my life like this. Like there's goals that you have in mind that takes you clear into next year. But the Chariot talks about the need to kind of get all of your horses on the same kind of wavelength. You may have some things in your life that are like kind of out of control and other things that you are kind of holding on to and you're kind of maintaining. And there's a need to kind of merge and bring the two together so that way you can have kind of forward motion that's like a little less chaotic. But this does talk a lot about your intuition. This does talk a lot about the overall bigger plan. So I want you to think about like, what is the purpose for all of the work that you're doing right now? Why are you going to go and take the course? Why are you going to go on that trip? Why are you going to go and start like learning that, you know, belief system? What is your end goal? Think about your end goal and start getting all of your horses in a row. Okay. Virgo rising. This is a full moon in your 8th house, which can be intense. All the skeletons come out the closet, which is ironic because Aries is quincunx to your sign, and it can be a lot about you realizing that the change and the transformation which needs to happen through your relationships and your intimacy with other people starts with you, Aries, right? So you've got this full moon in the 8th. It can bring about some intense matters pertaining to like settling a bill, paying something off, getting some answer about a loan, handling a debt situation. It can involve some pretty scary topics like healing, psychological triggers, your intimacy, your sex life with other people, your credit score, whether or not somebody's going to pay you back, whether or not you're going to get your insurance benefits, right? So you may be one of those signs who's more kind of aware of like, wait a second, like, do I have security with other people? Am I safe with this other person? Like, just because I'm in a relationship with them, do I feel like I can be vulnerable? Just because I have a job, does that necessarily mean that I have financial security? So your security can get a little rocked this month. What does help you is that the sun and Mars are moving through your 2nd house. So that tells me that you have like a supportive partner or a spouse, or you've got people who have your back, who are fighting for you. So if you're one of those people who's like really trying to get ahead of your financial situation, know that I do see support. It may be stressful because you may have a lot of like bills going out, things that you need to pay, and it's coming up on a situation where you're starting to question whether or not other people are going to come through. Right? And this can be a really challenging square. especially for you right now, because you do have Pluto that's hanging out in your 5th house. So you can be more concerned about covering expenses for a child, whether or not you have insurance through a job, and if that's going to like eliminate insurance for a partner or for a child that you may have. Equally, it's going to bring up a lot of issues revolving around intimacy and whether or not you're really going to open yourself up and like learn to really participate in your connection with another person. Open your heart, be willing to actually be vulnerable enough to connect with someone and not feel insecure sexually, like not being afraid to say, don't go, I need you, I love you, what have you. 3 of Cups. This to me, it could go one of 2 ways. Number one, this is a positive card. So this does kind of tell me that there is reason to celebrate people who come together, support. There could be like an accomplishment. But this can also be a card where it talks about like, are there too many people involved? Is 3 a crowd? Are you finding that you are having a hard time getting over someone from the past and opening your heart, and you feel like part of you is still attached to that person, that situation, and you want to move forward? There's somebody else that might be in your life, or somebody else who's ready, or maybe you're like, I want someone else, I want partnership, but I just can't shake this other person, or somebody who's interfering. Watch for interference. Be that a person who's physically around or a person from the past. I feel like this is reminding you that you can't juggle, and you're going to learn this, Virgo. You're going to see this more at the end of this year also when you have a Venus retrograde in your 5th. It's whether or not you're really going to open yourself up and be willing to do the dance of life with other people and really celebrate and be open. And part of you may feel like you're really cautious because you've been working on yourself a lot and you're kind of afraid to be vulnerable and potentially get hurt again. But if you're not willing to get hurt, then you're not worthy of being in love. So realize that there may be invitations, celebrations, people are calling you, come out, come do this, come do that, trying to get you to go and socialize again. So hopefully you will respond to that call. Libra rising. This is a full moon in your 7th house. So it's all about relationships, partnerships. 7th house can be also about clients. 7th house can also be about business partnerships, not just marital relationships. But this is the house of conflict, open enemies, right? So the world through your eyes is very inverted because everything is going to be backwards. So yes, we're talking about a full moon that's going to be in your 7th house, which is other people. However, it's Aries. So it's really interesting that Mars is in your sign and the sun is in your sign as well. It's whether or not you're going to initiate conversations, conflict, drama, kind of speaking your piece, telling other people what you want in regards to relationships. You can be more aggressive, but on the flip side, if you use that energy and if you're channeling that energy more into talking about what makes you happy, I think about like Saturn and Jupiter in your 5th. Whether or not something feels good, whether or not something resonates with you personally, whether or not you actually feel like that relationship, that person, that client, that partnership will make you happy in the future. A 7th house full moon can be a make or break time in relationships. I have seen clients break up during these times. We can break up at any time. We don't need a full moon to do it. But certainly with these aspects, I've seen it. But I've also seen people get engaged, get married, reconnect, say I love you. I've seen really prominent, clients come into my life when I've had a full moon in my 7th house. So I don't want you to think of it as like make or break. What's interesting is the friction is that you've got Pluto in your 4th house, and that deals with your roots, your heritage, your family, your physical, domestic space. It can be your home, your landlord, a parent. So when you have this full moon that is between your 1st, your 7th in a square to Pluto in the 4th, you're actively emotionally clearing the past, right? On a physical level, it can be you getting into it with your spouse or your partner being like, there's too much shit in the house. We need to get stuff out of the house. Like it could be that. Or we need to move, or you need to move out, or he's moving in, or we're moving there, or, family's not coming over. Like there can be some domestic family drama in this next month. But the question is, are you the one stirring the pot? Okay? Are you the one stirring the pot? Be mindful that you want to be an actor, not a reactor. 3 of Wands. So this is, it's almost like, and I've been practicing a lot of this in my life recently. It's a lot of like, okay, fuck it. Like, let's not focus on the problem. Where are we going? Let's be about solutions. Let's not be about the problem. Let's be about solutions. So this is about actively moving forward and coming up with a plan for where you're going. Don't get sucked into the whole like where you've been, what hasn't happened. Don't tit for a tat with what happened in the past. Be very direct with what does and does not work, what your vision is, where you're going, what your goals are. Talk about your goals. It's really important right now when you have the last couple of days of having planets that are in your sign, because you have literally set a cycle recently in the last new moon that's going to span for the next 2 years. There's a Sun-Mars cycle that just started, and it's about how you're taking initiative. So don't be so focused on what other people are doing wrong, what other people aren't doing, judging other people. Focus on you, put your blinders on, have a plan. Scorpio, Scorpio rising. This is a full moon in your 6th house. You have cosmic support from the sun in your 12th. So maybe many Scorpios are getting ready for their birthday season. You guys are feeling a little bit more tired. You're feeling a little bit more run down. Maybe there can be a sense of you hiding out, going through the motions, noticing that there's a cosmic clearing happening. And that's because the sun and Mars are in your 12th house. There can be like this weird like agitation on one hand with relationships and partnerships that you're not fully expressing. On the other hand, having like Mars in your 12th house can be really great, because like Mars or Venus, when it goes through the 12th house, can be really like bedroom pleasure. So there can be like a lot of like having sex, being with your partner, kind of like hiding out for a little bit, watching movies, doing your thing, getting ready for the next chapter when the sun goes into your sign. However, having a full moon in your 6th house makes me wonder, is there too much lacking, like slacking off? Like, you know, are you falling into some bad habits? Have you fallen off a little bit in your diet or your health or your wellness? Are you getting your work done? Are you doing it efficiently? Does something need to change with your schedule? So when you see that there's this full moon in your 6th, there can be conclusions pertaining to your health, but also like your work schedule, and with the oppositions to planets in Libra, whether or not it's efficient, like whatever is working efficiently for you, and you may have not been communicating that to a partner, so it may need to come out. Now the square is to Pluto, and Pluto is currently in your 3rd house, so watch your words. That's the big thing that I would say. Like there can be some tense exchanges in the next week or so revolving around things that you haven't communicated that you're anxious about or that's bothering you, where something has been kind of out of funk, and you just like mouth off and you're just like, well, you've been doing this, and this. And it can come off really extreme, okay? The devil. This is about you breaking free from bad habits, negative thought patterns, negative ways of communicating, feeling bound by certain schedules, feeling bound by certain dynamics. It's really about you learning, I think, how to communicate more softly, and learning that you don't have to be aggressive or assertive or like nasty, that there is a way to utilize your words in a powerful manner that can orchestrate and create change, right? And whenever we're seeing squares between the sun or Mars and Pluto, it's trying to get rid of something. So if there's been something you've been holding back and saying, or something that makes you anxious, it's got to come up, it's got to get cleared out, so you can break free of this cycle of like constantly, repeatedly thinking about it. All right, Sag and Sag rising. This is your 5th house. It is a fire sign full moon, so it's a sister sign for you. A full moon in your 5th is excellent. Creative, lovely, sexy. It's very falling in love, dating, being creative, having fun. But it's in Aries, so it's all about your participation in these matters. Like, what are you doing? Are you having fun? Are you initiating playtime? With the oppositions to the sun in your 11th house, it can be like you calling up friends, being like, hey, I want to get everybody together, you asking somebody out on a date, you starting a project and wanting to kind of pick your friends' brains about it and ask them what they think. It's very initiative. It's nice because it plays well with your sign. So you're going to see that you really benefit from the fire trines to your ascendant. So you can be feeling a little bit more dramatic, theatrical, playful, fun, these kinds of things. Where you're getting nailed is Pluto in your 2nd. So it can kind of suggest like You can go a little overboard on the spending. There can be a sense of you being like, oh my gosh, anything in the pursuit of pleasure. And you realize that, you know, you spend a ton of money going to a theme park or going out to dinner or going on, you know, a date and like buying really expensive concert tickets. Like there can be some like really lavish things that are going on in the next month. Equally with Pluto in your second house, it's pertaining to like revamping, I think, your self-esteem, what you're eating, the money even that you're putting into your business. So there can be a sense of you kind of weighing your options and going like, okay, should I be spending all this money that I'm spending right now when really I'm supposed to be focusing on saving or putting this towards future career endeavors, especially if you're self-employed. So the fifth house can also be about self-employment. And if there's this focus on, you know, kind of getting everything ready towards the end of the year financially and getting an idea of what the year end is going to look like and whether or not you're on budget. Six of Wands. So this is a card that is about being victorious, right? It's having a good time, having fun. But this is saying like, if you're thinking about taking a chance, taking a risk, investing in something, investing in a stock, investing in a business, investing in yourself, right? This fifth house is very much about speculation and taking chances. So if you're feeling risky, to me, it looks like it'll pay off. You'll do well. It can take 6 days to 6 weeks, maybe even 6 months for you to start to see the results of this. Or this could be a 6 months cultivation of you realizing through the changes that you have made, now there's been a breakthrough and you're really happy because everything went well and it's well received and everybody's kind of excited. With this card, he's like, you know, riding into town and it's about a homecoming. So there can also be some sense of like there being a lot of people who are cheering you on because of the decisions that you have made and like how far you've come. All right, so for Capricorn and Cap rising, this is a full moon in your fourth house. So be mindful, this can be a little intense. This can be about whether or not you go back home, you keep living where you're living, you move, you have a change with your roommate, if you're wanting to move out on your own, getting your own place. It can also be about you being in a situation where you're just starting to kind of think about the future and like where you want to be emotionally or where you would like to start a family, have your family, where you'd like to visit, things like that. But a full moon being there with opposition of the sun and Mars in your 10th, it's like, to me, it seems like all you want to do is be at home and be in bed, or go and see your family, or be with your mom, or be with a sibling. But you are being pulled in so many different directions. You're really having to show up a lot and kind of be an authority right now. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of heavy lifting with the sun and Mars happening in your 10th house of career. You're having to go out there, network, work. And I think the full moon in your fourth is just you kind of being like, you know what? I need a night in. I need to chill. Like emotionally, I'm spent. Now keep in mind, Pluto is in your sign. So the square is actually happening between your 10th house of what other people expect you to do, your 4th house of what emotionally you would rather do, and Pluto somewhere in your sign. That's basically kind of the setup for like a meltdown of you just overworking, not paying attention to your emotions, not giving yourself what you need. It can be your family being like, we need you here. It can be, you know, your landlord being like, we have a problem. And you having a hard time balancing the two. So be mindful that Pluto in your sign can be meltdown city. It can also be you kind of viciously lashing out, but it can be you looking at the situation and going, you know what, I need to change the way that I'm handling things. I need to change the way that I'm showing up to work. I need to have better boundaries. I need to be aware of my body. I need to be aware of the fact that things aren't changing the way that I need them to change, right? So a full moon can bring lots of changes domestically, but it can also bring huge clearings emotionally, and it can be a time where it's like all you want to do is just sit in the bathtub and have a glass of wine and smoke a joint, right? Like that's very 4th house. Literally, 9 of Cups. So you, once again, you're one of those other people that's like, hey, if you're focused on a goal, don't expect there not to be a bulldozer situation. This is a positive card. This is one of the best cards you can pull in the deck. 9 of Cups is having your cake, eating it too, wish fulfillment, super happy, being excited. Maybe it is that situation where you're looking for a new job and you really want to move to another city and it comes through and you walk into work and go, I'm out. And you just Jerry Maguire your way out of there. Ultimately, this is more about emotional fulfillment though. So whatever is going on, it's clearing the way and making it possible for you to have more emotional fulfillment and get exactly what you want. So it looks good. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is a full moon in your 3rd house. You have support with the Sun and Mars in your 9th. So there can be legal support, guru support, mentor support, opportunities for travel, education, things like that. And a full moon in the 3rd is all about like reading, learning, exchanging of information, text messages, meetings, conversations, emails, gadgets, right? And it's your personal communication. I think about Saturn and Jupiter being in your 1st house or in your sign now, and that they have woken up. And so it's almost like you're going to start to feel like you can move forward. And with that aspect from this full moon, there is some really nice stuff happening that's kind of setting up and giving you the opportunity to like communicate, be more optimistic, be sharing new ideas with people, having like an aha moment. You start writing something, you make a phone call, like you're connecting all the dots, like everything's starting to come together, right? Here's the challenge, is that the square from Pluto is in your 12th house. So you can also be one of those signs that really benefits from having like a really routine spiritual practice. If you're meditating, if you're chanting, if you're doing yoga, what have you. Because Pluto's in your 12th house, it's almost like you're being affected by things outside of you. You're being affected by things globally or within, what's going on out in the world. So I could see like the full moon and the square from the 9th house to the 12th house is like there can be world events that's, changing the way that you see the universe and God and what you believe in, or throwing a wrench in what might be travel plans and you thought you were going to fly, but now you're going to drive, right? Something like that. Queen of Cups. I think this talks a lot about how you're handling this emotionally, how you're processing things emotionally, learning to be a little bit more emotional or a little bit more sensitive with yourself. Equally, this can be about a woman who comes into your life or a water sign that comes into your life that helps change your perspective, helps you become more emotionally aware, wearing your heart on your sleeve, like processing your feelings, really kind of showing up and doing the work that you need to be doing in that sense. It can be an emotional conversation you have with somebody, or kind of leveling with somebody and telling them how you feel, which is ironic because it's not very Aries, but it can be talking a lot about you just kind of realizing that there's been a lot happening for you emotionally and you have an emotional breakthrough, right? Look for some kind of support that may come though from a water sign, especially a woman in the next month, who helps you kind of make sense of this and kind of sort some of this stuff out. So that way you feel like you can be moving more freely in the world, okay? And last but not least, we have our Pisces. So this is a full moon for you Pisces in your 2nd house of resources, income, money, security, purchasing power, self-esteem. You got lots of help with the Sun in the 8th house. Mars is there too. So certainly it's ramping up your sex drive. You might kind of feeling like that's coming up online, or that there is a need to physically or intimately connect with people. You can be getting really passionate, all about getting ahead of your finances, paying things off, getting bonuses, payouts, wrapping up a tax situation or money owed or a loan. That can be happening. And with the Sun and Mars moving through your 8th house, opposing this moon in the 2nd, it tells me that financial situations can turn on a dime. Really focus on what you feel like you're worth. There's been a lot of work in the area of worth and money and finances and financial planning and dealing with estates, or maybe even money owed, or it can be also, about inheritances and moving through something where you've been given something and then it's like, well, what do I do with it, right? The pressure is coming from Pluto in your 11th house. So maybe like, groups and associations, friends, maybe friends are wanting to go and do things socially and you're like, I'm really tight on cash right now. I'm trying to pay something off. I'm trying to meet some financial goals. I can't be going out spending a lot of money. Resources coming from friends also. So it can be friends being like, well, what did you do to get out of debt? Or did you consolidate? Do you know somebody? So there can be conversations that you're having with other people about that. And just finding ways to kind of like really get ahead of your financial goals. And I think you, of all of the signs, have seen some major shifts and some changes in this last month pertaining to this area of your life. 9 of Coins, great card if this is the full moon that you're having. This is about coming out on top, feeling like you've got enough to spend on yourself, to indulge. It can also be talking about you spoiling yourself and being like, you know what, I earned this. I'm going to buy myself, a bag or get a pedicure or take myself out to lunch. It's being able to show appreciation for yourself, being self-sufficient, doing it on your own, not needing somebody else. This is like the strong independent woman card. So it's being really fulfilled and feeling good about accomplishing something or wrapping something up or taking responsibility for something and having a little something extra to treat yourself with. This equally is also about separating the idea that you need to be with someone in order to feel supported, or that you need to have a lot of something in order to feel wealthy or abundant, especially when you're dealing with full moons on the axis of your 2nd and your 8th house. So to me, it seems like your goals revolving around money and security are changing. You may be somebody who wasn't so consumed with financial security, and now you're like, yeah, I need that. That's important. That's a goal of mine. On the flip side, if you have been practicing minimalism and if you have been somebody who has been doing with less and you find that it makes you happier, you may be sharing some of these ideas with other people and kind of realizing that less is more, and that you really like having a life where it's not so consumed with material things. And now that you're getting out of that psychological patterning or out of a financial kind of hole, you're realizing like, you know what, I don't need that lifestyle anymore. It doesn't suit me. I'm just fine on my own. All right, guys, that was quite the show together. I appreciate you staying with me through it. Let me know, where's the full moon taking place in your chart? Leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear how it's playing out for you. Equally, if you want to come back to this video and let me know, I'd like to take a look and see how it's playing out for some of my viewers. Next week on the channel, next Monday, we'll be back to our usual astro weather. I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the stuff that's going on in between, especially now that we have some planets direct and getting us ready for Scorpio season. I actually think that we have one more show, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we do. So next week will be in between. I'll have another video that's going to come out that will be the November video that will probably come out on November 1st. So we got a little bit of extra time this month. So if you're not aware of that, usually the last Monday, or in this case, it'll be the first Monday, November 1st, will be the whole month ahead for November. You're not going to want to watch, you're not going to want to miss that, okay? Because November is going to be super crazy with all the squares that's going on. This Friday, we're doing a live on my channel. It's going to be live astro readings. Make sure that you stay tuned, check out. I'm going to be posting that pretty soon, putting the time. Usually it's around somewhere between 5 or 7 p.m. Pacific time. And I do it live readings. I'm going to pull up the charts and I'll put a link ahead. So if you want to reserve a reading, I'm usually online for about an hour and a half. Answering your questions about natal aspects, transits, synastry. It's a great way to get a question if you want to get a little preview of what it's like to get a reading with me, or if you just want to hang out and learn. That's the benefit of being a subscriber on my channel. I now have subscriptions. You can get in on a level 1. Level 2 is going to be a shout out. Level 3, you're going to get a shout out. And you are also going to get one reading once a month during one of my lives. You can either get a 3-card tarot reading, or you can get a 1-question astrology. So you're VIP if you're level 3. You're going to get a reading first. You're at the top of my list, and then I will work through everybody else who's in the live. So consider that if you like watching my videos and you want to support the channel. Be mindful that eclipses are coming. So that's why the energy is also getting a little bit more intense. We are going to have a new moon that's coming. The new moon is going to be in Scorpio. That's next. And then after that, we're going to have a full moon eclipse in Taurus. So my schedule is bonkers. I'm like taking a bunch of time off intermittently between November and December. So I'm going to try to start making some content ahead of time, so that way you guys are prepared and you know what these eclipses are going to have. We're getting ready to have the North Node move into Taurus and the South Node's moving into Scorpio in the new year. But we have a Taurus eclipse next month. So if you're looking around going, why are things so intense? We're coming into that, 4 to 6 week window of eclipses, and we're starting to feel it. So stay tuned. We'll talk about that soon. And if you are not aware, I have a podcast I do with my partner in crime, the Peace Dealer. We have a podcast that comes out every Monday, so stay tuned for that. If you're a subscriber on that channel, also, you'll get it on Saturdays, kind of actually early. That's kind of the benefit of keeping up with what's going on with my channel and that channel. It will be dropping Monday morning, the 18th. probably when you're watching this. And guess what? The whole episode is about Scorpio season. So you probably want to check that out. It's a little bit more fun and raunchy and like lighthearted than some of the stuff I do on this channel. But it is somewhere in my community tabs. You'll find it, the Midheaven Podcast. You want to book a reading with me? I am happy to see you. Check out my links below. Check out my social media. Check out my website, beyondtheveiltarot.com. For intuitive astrology and tarot readings, I offer half or full hours. Saturn return readings, I've been doing a lot of those recently. Natal chart interpretations. And for those of you guys who are like, I have one question, I just need to ask a question, I have that too. So check out those links below. All right, guys, hopefully that's everything you need to manage this super action-packed full moon in Aries. I hope it is a good one for you guys, and I will see all of you guys very soon. Take care.